Hey guys, welcome to Physicality. This is going to be a much shorter episode this week because I just don't want to talk for 10 minutes about something. And I know this is one's going to be very interesting. I know some of you are going to be like, why didn't you talk for 10 minutes about this? This is a very important topic. But it's about horror movies on VHS. I am a fan of Blu-ray, DVD, 4K. So I understand VHS to an extent, but it's not my preferred method. Now, I understand why people would prefer this over a shiny new 4K, like I've mentioned in the past. Elm Street's just got a 4K box set. There's also the standalone 4K, which I'm personally waiting for the slipcover versions. I don't want the steelbooks. I don't want the box set that everyone's raving about. I want this, but in slipcovers, so all next to each other. It's my preferred method. That's how I want to collect if I'm going to collect. But VHS. There we got the thumbnail, I think. VHS Elm Street, for example. People say VHS has the original audio cut. Not this one particularly. There's one with Nancy on the cover, the artwork. This one's an older VHS by the look of it. Let's have a quick look at it. So it's definitely like an older, towards the end of its maybe run on VHS. But also the aspect ratios, like you see more aspect ratios with the top and bottom, like obviously unlocked open matte might give some more aspect ratio. You also have stuff like different cuts of the movies. So there, I know for the longest time, like Star Wars. I mean, do I have Star Wars down here? I do have Star Wars. So it's not really a horror movie, but like if you're going to watch The Empire Strikes Back or something, you might have a different cut on here to what's on the DVD or 4K these days, you know. Obviously, Lucas post 1997 changed a lot of things. So you have different cuts of these. And that's the same to be said with horror movies as well. That's the exact same. When you're watching horror movies, you might get a different cut of a movie. You might get a different audio cut. For the longest time, Mad Max was a different audio cut on DVD and Blu-ray, and then 4K Kino Lorber changed a lot of that. They changed the audio back, they made the Australian mono sound available, and this is the first time the world had the mono sound on a release, I believe. Outside of Australia, I'm talking about, I think the Australian VHS had the mono. So you know what I'm saying? Like, there are different reasons why collectors will go towards VHS. And there's also the whole dilemma of nostalgia. People want to remember the way they watched it for the first time. They want to watch it in that lower resolution. It can be said that shining up A Nightmare on Elm Street too much might actually expose some of the imperfections in the movie. It might show too much. It might show that, you know what? Like with Snake Eyes, when that first came to Blu-ray, you could see the wires holding Nicolas Cage. So there are certain dilemmas of why would you choose? What's going on here? Something's falling. I can hear, I don't know, something over there. Who knows? But you know, there's a whole dilemma of like, you could essentially choose a cut that you want. And with VHS, you have the mono cut or whatever your audio preference is. You have the open matte to most cases, like things like Titanic might have even had a bit more on top and bottom rather than the sides because it was formatted for a CRT television, which were those old tube TVs, you know, the squared TVs. So in a lot of ways, VHS is... What is going on? I can hear something falling and I don't know what it is. It's just being annoying. Oh boy. Hold on. What is that noise? I can hear a noise over here. I bet it's that. Because things fall over when you have DVDs. And it just gets a bit annoying. Going back to VHS. With VHS, when you kind of have a different cut of each movie, and especially when they upgrade it, it can expose a lot of imperfections in the movie. People want to be nostalgic of going to the video store and saying, I remember renting that version with Freddy on the cover. I remember renting the version with Nancy on the cover, you know, and it had a little thing up there. I tried to recreate it on a Blu-ray, but it didn't. People want to get nostalgic for the version they grew up on. People want to be nostalgic for the different cuts. People want to be nostalgic for the audio cut they grew up with. They don't want to deal with the whole alteration of this is altered, this is being changed. I spoke recently about Crocodile Dundee being altered. Why I don't want to pick up the Encore cut. I think it changes too much. I don't like altered movies. And in a lot of ways, people do say, if I'm getting the VHS, I know it's less likely to be altered because, yes, there were alterations happening in the VHS era as well. Let's not get that mistaken. But to the most extent, people want to understand, okay, it's not the modern generation. It is free of AI. They're not going to upscale it with AI or whatever, or get the wrong audio track. There is a lot of reasons why people go to watch VHS. And it is important to understand why people choose VHS. It doesn't seem normal in this day and age. I mean, look, when we talk about VHS, we've got to look at it as like magnetic reel. It's less susceptible to scratches as well. People want to be like, oh, I can keep this version for 50 years and it will probably be good. I think there's still VHS tapes from the 70s at play. I'm just saying, if you maintain it very well, there's no reason that magnetic strip will go bad. It does have a shelf life, don't get me wrong. But if you're looking after it, people know it holds up better than a DVD does. And DVDs, we don't know the exact shelf life of DVDs yet. And also, when you have the preferred cut, when DVD came out, it was very much formatted by, in later releases, it was very much formatted by 16:9. When I see a 4:3 like Lord of the Rings or whatever, I have to pick it up straight away. And I haven't seen one of those in the wild, but I am keeping an eye out. I know they do exist. But you know, there are open matte versions. There are, like with The Mask, you see certain aspects above and below Jim Carrey, whereas the Blu-ray cuts those portions out and then formats it. Now, you do see more on the sides. But for me growing up, I remember seeing the whole image, you know, kind of open matte. So in a way, I've got the Blu-ray, but I kind of prefer stuff like the DVD and the old DVD, one of the first DVDs came out for The Mask. And for VHS, you know, VHS is definitely the way a lot of collectors experience things for the first time, going to the video stores. So why do people collect videotapes for horror movies? Why do they collect it? A, it makes it more scary because the lower resolution hides some of the imperfections. It also gives them the cut they want and the audio cut they want. It also gives them the nostalgia kick of the whole experience of like, if I'm going to watch physical media, I mean, look, discs are discs, don't get me wrong. I've got discs here, I've got discs there, you know, everyone has discs. But then it's also the whole thing of like, that's just a digital disc. Videotape is magnetic strip, and I believe this is analog. So, you know, analog is a whole different dynamic. You have to actually have a video player. It's a whole experience in a way, especially if you have a CRT. So that's why it holds its appeal to collectors. That's why people want VHS. It's just a big nostalgia kick, but also there's so many other layers to it. And if I've missed anything in this video, jump down in those comments and let me know. Like, you know, as I said, this is going to be a shorter one. I'm going to kind of end it here. But jump down in the comments and let me know, because I want to know as well. If you're a VHS collector, let me know why you collect it. Because I'm interested. I want to know. I want to understand. I want to understand why the Evil Dead on VHS is better and considered higher regard than the 4Ks, you know? There's the 4Ks right there. I want to know why. Jump down in the comments, let me know, and go follow the Instagram. I'm also posting the real quicks over here as well, so I'm posting everywhere. I'm just flooding the market. But have fun. I'm going to go now. Bye-bye.